We've just completed a roundtable on commercial vehicle onboard safety systems. We had a very diverse group, very diverse points of view from industry, government agencies, academia, all very interested in the question of deployment of beneficial technologies in freight transportation, particularly for safety. And this has been an active interest for some years now that's been given an increased level of excitement by the opportunity for more and more automation of motor vehicle operations. And we've been considering how that opportunity particularly applies in the freight transport sector. There's tremendous excitement about automation in motor vehicles, and it tends to crowd out and take up the oxygen in any conversation on transportation these days. So we were fortunate enough to be here to just to talk about that and how it impacts freight transportation. What we see is a tremendous amount of uncertainty about how automation is going to play out. It's an extremely diverse set of capabilities that are going to be deployed in some cases gradually, and some cases are being deployed already. So there's a very interesting mix, and the uncertainties extend to the technology, how ready it is, how robust it is, and issues to do particularly with commercial drivers, given the industrial importance and the labour market importance of the drivers involved in freight transportation. So it's very interesting that we need, of course, and many of the recommendations at the round table speak to reducing that uncertainty. We need to do things that are going to reduce the uncertainty and then allow policymakers to come up with some solutions that tend to catch up a lot better with the technology that's moving very quickly. So we had some great discussion and great experience and examples around ways to reduce that uncertainty through pilot operations, that is deploying these technologies on public roads with real users. And in doing so, we bring together a whole ecosystem of those that necessarily need to be involved, whether it's vehicle manufacturers, tech companies, government agencies, insurance companies, and the list goes on. The beauty of doing deployments is that we naturally tend to bring all of those parties together and create the ecosystem. So these pilots are very important, and we can do rapid learning cycles and learn how to deploy this technology and how to improve it. Also, and I think somewhat uniquely to the freight sector, if we compare it to technology deployment in personal vehicles, is that we have the opportunity to do what we called hyper-local use cases. So we can actually look at real uses that freight companies would have for moving freight from A to B in a very defined environment where quite high levels of technology could be applied. So we think that by using these two methods of reducing uncertainty and learning fast and answering some of the questions of pilots, hyper-local use cases will be a very valuable way forward, and the government agencies can play an important role in enhancing those deployments. Also, we have the opportunity for redesign. We don't often have the opportunity for redesign of the way drivers do their jobs, of the way the infrastructure might contribute to improve the sort of improvements we're talking about. And the improvements are dramatic, particularly in safety, where we're probably seeing from a technology point of view the biggest opportunity we've seen in a century to improve safety and avoid crashes. So redesign of the freight vehicle driver, commercial driver, as an operator, and what that means to use the technology to enhance the job they're doing and the satisfaction they get from that. And of course the infrastructure, investments in the infrastructure can help support the acceleration of automation coming into the system. Based on that, we need to manage expectations. There is not a clear understanding at the moment as to what these technologies could be expected to provide, the positive side and the issues that we need to deal with. And we need to educate everybody, the professional sectors, the industry sectors, and the general public. So education is an important aspect. And finally, we were told pretty clearly that it's going to be very difficult for a challenging deployment like this, using public-private collaboration, many issues involved, if we have non-uniform requirements across the country as we go across state borders and so on, or between the countries as states in Europe. So we need to be very careful to consider harmonization of rules and regulations, and many of those considerations are already underway. So there's no question that these technologies are extremely beneficial in transportation. They have a special part to play in freight transportation, and in many ways can be implemented faster because of the organized nature of the freight industry. And what we saw in our roundtable was an extremely strong commitment to reducing the uncertainties, finding the answers, and moving forward. Thank you very much.